Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to another episode of entitled People, where many of you come to get your daily dose of Karens. My friends, as always, I hope you're having a great day today. And you know the drill. The stories in this episode are absolutely crazy, so strap yourselves in and try not to shake your heads too hard, my friends. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future tales. We're diving in, guys. We're diving in. I attend college in Arizona. My mom and stepdad live in Maine. I've gone very low contact with them over the 3 years that I've been in school. The summers, I've managed to get a job or an internship to keep me out here. Now, a little bit about my mom. My mom is a total entitled Karen. She's the type of woman who gets what she wants, when she wants, and has always been that way. If you've ever seen the videos online of people freaking out at Costco because there aren't enough samples and try to get compensation out of it, that's her. That's the type of woman my mom is. My mom and I don't get along, and I really do enjoy the time being away from her. Anyways, 4 months ago, my mom sent me an email telling me, not asking, telling me that I was coming to Thanksgiving. She wanted the family together and had a photographer coming to take photos. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I don't want to go to your stupid Thanksgiving so we can fake being a happy family for a few hours. I told her I would not be coming because of my job on campus. Now, my entitled mother then calls the school, who told her that 1. I'm over 18, therefore they can't tell her anything. And 2. When she threatened to pull me out, the awesome lady at the registers told her, good luck, she's on a full scholarship and pays for everything herself. When she realized that she couldn't lie to the school, she had stepdad call to beg me to come. This guy stood by since I was 12 years old and watched my mom yell at me, degrade me, lie about me, and did nothing. I hate this guy, so I ignore his calls, and then she calls my biological dad and tried to get him to convince me to come, and he laughed at her and hung up. We have our issues, but he's genuinely a good guy. So on Thanksgiving Day, I woke up to go to the gym. I enjoyed a leisurely breakfast at my favorite cafe. I then come home and was getting ready to throw my laundry in the washer and make myself chicken and noodles in my crock pot, when my door was pretty much knocked down. In swarms campus cops and the local police department telling me to get down on the floor. Now, I was terrified, and guess whose lovely mom called the police department and said that her daughter told her 13-year-old sister that she had a plan to bomb the whole place the day after Thanksgiving. If you guessed my mom, you would be right. Yeah, so after a trip to the campus police building, and them searching my room and car and finding nothing, and me showing emails of my mom threatening me that I'd be sorry for not coming to Thanksgiving, they let me go. I was allowed to go back to my dorm, and the RA and I managed to put my door back on. My grandma then calls me a couple of hours later telling me that my mom tried to teach me a lesson that I'd never forget, because I ruined her Thanksgiving that day. And guess who's arrested and is now sitting behind bars for making a false police report? If you guessed my mom, you would be right. Oh my freaking goodness, my friends. OP's mom is on another level of entitlement. I mean, entitled Karens complaining to managers doesn't even compare to what OP's mom did to her own daughter. Come on, calling the police and making up a lie to get her arrested, all because she wouldn't show up to your Thanksgiving dinner? Yeah, I think it's time for OP to go very, 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 very low contact after that. If not, cutting her out completely, and also looking at getting a restraining order because OP's mom has definitely lost her marbles. I mean, that was a very serious thing to lie about. So this happened about 12 years ago. I had just moved to a small town. My 10-year-old daughter made friends with a girl down the block. Now, this girl did not have many friends because her mom was drama, and nobody in the neighborhood wanted to deal with her. I didn't want to punish the entitled mom's daughter for her mom's behavior, and our daughters were thick as thieves in no time. So about 6 months later, my daughter comes home from their house crying. So apparently over an argument of who got to play with what Barbie, the other girl calls my daughter a racial slur that begins with the letter N. When my daughter became visibly upset, the girl told my daughter something to the effect of, "Oh, it's not a bad thing, it's just what mommy says you and your mom are when you act like you're better than us." The entitled mom called us pretty quickly to apologize for her daughter talking out of turn and sharing personal family conversations. I explained to her that I was okay with the girls still being friends, as long as the 4 of us could have a sit down and just kind of talk through why that word would be so hurtful to my kid. She agreed, but made comments that made me feel that she thought I was overreacting. At the end of our conversation, I made it very clear that our daughters would not be around each other until the sit-down happened. And the entitled mother snaps. She says, "This is what's wrong with you people, always playing the race card and making a mountain out of a molehill. You aren't gonna punish my daughter because you can't get over yourself." So I hang up and that was the end. Or so I thought. A month later, my daughter's at the park down the street from our house with the neighbors and their kids. I'm cleaning my house when I get a phone call from the neighbor. The neighbor says, "Oh my god, Karen is here. She's screaming that the kids can't ignore her kid in a public place. She's saying that by law, they have to play with her daughter. I'm packing up and coming back. I'm just letting you know that this chick is acting nuts." I asked her if she needed me to come, and she says, "No, I'm ignoring her. I'll be home in a second." 2 minutes later, I get another call and hear screaming in the background. The neighbor says, "You won't believe this. She called the police on your daughter. The cops are here and you need to get down here." So I arrive and my daughter's shaking and crying, thinking she's done something wrong. Karen is screaming like a madwoman at the top of her lungs about how my daughter being in a public place means she has to play with her daughter. So I come and hear this conversation between her and the police officer. "So what are you gonna do about this? Are you seriously just gonna let this girl stay at the park when she's refusing to play with my daughter?" The police officer then says, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but as I was saying, there's no law that kids have to play with each other in public parks. If she doesn't want to play with your daughter, she doesn't have to." The mom then grabs at the walkie-talkie thing on the cop's shoulder and says, "I want to speak to your sergeant or commanding officer or whatever. Someone needs to come and do their frickin' job." So the officer then calls his commanding officer, and I was stunned. I asked if my daughter could sit in the car as she was visibly shaken, and he said she could, which of course sent the entitled mother on another rant. The commanding officer pulls up as she's screaming about how my daughter needs to get out of the car and play with her daughter. He then comes over to me and I tell him the backstory on how this all started. And he says, "At this point, I don't see a reason for you to still be here. You can take your daughter home." So the mom then turns bright red and says, "This is why they're like this. Nobody holds them accountable for anything they do. She should at least get a ticket or something." Now, I don't know what was said after that, but myself, the neighbor, and our kids got out of there quickly. I start looking for an apartment right away and found something about 2 months later. While I was packing, I get a call from the mom that I let go to voicemail. The voicemail says, "I hear you're moving. I just want to let you know that if you or any of your kids walk by my house before then, I'm calling the police for harassment. I don't care if it's James, my 2-year-old son, and I can't wait to hear the stupid stuff you have to say about this when you call me back." Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted to call back, but we didn't. We moved a week later, thankfully. Yeah, that woman definitely has some issues, guys. I can see why nobody wanted to play with her kids or be around her kids. Now, OP does have updates, and it says, "I don't know why the police did nothing, but they never did. She called them often, on everyone and anyone. They always basically just apologized, calmed her down, and left." Now, when I do say it's a small town, it's less than 10,000 people and has a lot of farms. So much so that the high school literally has bring your tractor to school day. Now, I do hear stories about her kids being wild at school, hitting teachers, biting, spitting, and they would just get sent home. Now, I can't say it's fact, but it came from my kids and the other kids in the area. And as horrible as it sounds, I think the whole town collectively decided to turn their backs on all of them to not have to deal with her. From police, the schools, to the parents. So, some backstory. I have a working pantry, which means that I have food that'll last my family up to 3 months. Now, it's food that we do eat and use, so I'm constantly restocking and rotating it. And I'm not exactly a doomsday prepper, but it does come in handy for emergencies. Now, I've been in self-quarantine for a few weeks now due to my compromised immune system. No one outside of our family is allowed inside the house, and we don't answer the door if we don't have to. We also have a Ring doorbell so we can communicate with people without answering the door. A little bit about myself. I used to coupon to the point that I could have been on the extreme couponing show. That's how I built up my food storage quickly. In the past, the neighborhood kids learned quickly that my son had lots of snacks that I was willing to share. And in turn, their parents learned that I had a very large food storage, which I never wanted to advertise, but oh well. I didn't think it would be a problem at the time. Sorry for the novel, on to the story. Now, the story takes place during the first few weeks of quarantine. Schools and workplaces have been closed, but the grocery stores are still open, but they're wiped out and overwhelmed. Yesterday, the doorbell rings at around 9:30 a.m. I checked the Ring app and saw the neighbor's kid, who's about 5 years old, standing on my porch. So I pressed the talk button and tell him, "Hi." He says, "Hi, I'm here for food." Confused, I asked him, "What food?" He then replies, "Mommy says you have some food for me." I told him, "I'm sorry, honey, but I don't. I'm sure your mom has food for you at home." He then said okay, waved to the camera, and he left. Now, I brushed it off because that kid was known for making stuff up, so I settled back into bed, and almost a half hour later, the doorbell rings again. And when I check it, there's 2 kids standing outside. One is the kid of my neighbor from across the street. The other lives on the street behind me. It's the same story. Their moms told them that I had food to give them. I quickly told them no and to go talk to their moms. They said okay and went on their way. While they walked away, I sent off a text to the 3 moms. I said, "Hey, your kids came to my house saying that you told them that I have food for them. I don't. Why are you telling them that?" The mom number 1 says, "What about all the food you have in your food storage?" I told her, "What about it?" She says, "You have a lot. You can share." Mom number 2 says, "You've shared before." I told them my food storage is enough for my family. If I had anything to spare, I would gladly share, but I don't. Mom number 3 says, "But you have lots of food." I told them again, for my family, the stores are still open. If you need food, you'll have to try your luck there. So it's at this point that mom number 1 says, "Or we could just come over and take your stuff." Mom number 2 says, "Yeah, I doubt you'd be able to stop us." Now, all 3 do know about my mental and mobility issues. I told them, "Try it, and I'll meet you on the driveway with my shotgun, an angry Rottweiler, and my even angrier husband." Mom number 3 says, "Are you threatening us? Do you want to get arrested today?" I told them, "You guys threatened me first, so I'm just returning the favor." So they did not respond back, but I did hear from one of my neighbors that mom number 1 was complaining to anybody that would listen that I'm a mean person for letting her kids go hungry. Several people asked her why she was trying to take food away from an ill person, as they know that I have a severe chronic illness, and they know that she buys bulk at Costco every 2 weeks. She didn't have an answer for that and stopped complaining about me soon afterwards. For those who are wondering, we do live in the western region of the United States, near the Rocky Mountains. That's all I'm willing to say. Preppers and people with food storage like mine are pretty much the normal where we are, but there are people like the 3 mothers that don't prepare beyond their monthly grocery trips. After my encounter with the entitled moms on Friday, I didn't think much of it, but I did tell my husband. He was not amused. Now, ever since my health has been declining, my husband has become fiercely protective of me. He wanted to storm over and rip all 3 of them to shreds, but I managed to convince him not to, of course. He did ask for screenshots of the text just in case, and I happily sent them to him. So Saturday nights, after I went to bed early, the neighbor who told me that mom number 1 had been complaining about me showed up on our porch with a neighbor cop and spoke to my husband. She said that she and several other neighbors were concerned when the entitled mother number 2 had basically admitted to threatening to come kill us and take our food storage. I guess mom number 2 was telling people that it was a funny story or something. The neighbor cop was there because he co-heads our neighborhood watch, and he's also entitled mother 2's brother-in-law. Now, I've always gotten the impression that he and mother 2 don't get along. Quick note, we do have several police officers as well as firemen that live in our neighborhood. In fact, we have 3 policemen living on just my street. So the neighbor cop asked hubby if we have proof of the text conversation, and hubby sent him a copy. The neighbor cop thanked him and told him that he would be speaking with his sister-in-law later that night. Hubby thanked them both and they left. So this morning, Sunday, neighbor cop shows up again. He told hubby that he had met up with the 3 mothers and their husbands and sternly told them that with the screenshots my hubby had given them, he could easily arrest 3 of them for harassing and threatening me, and that if anything happens at our house, they would be the first on their list of people to talk to and arrest. Now, I don't know if he told them that to scare them, but he knows the law better than me, so I'll go with it. He also told them that he had informed the other cops that live in the neighborhood, and that they, as well as the other neighbors that were concerned in the first place, would be watching them, and to not be stupid. So that's it, for now. Neighbor cop told us to call him if we have any problems with anybody, but I don't anticipate anything soon. The neighbor cop did admit to hubby that all 3 moms looked terrified after he mentioned being arrested, and their husbands were furious at them. Entitled mom 1's husband even asked her, "How could you think it was okay to threaten a sick person?" And number 2's husband told her that she was dumb for threatening someone who owned a shotgun. My friends, you should not threaten anybody, period. And you definitely should not threaten anybody over text where they have it in writing. OP should definitely look at getting cameras installed just to be safe. So this happened last weekend. I was flying out of JFK Airport in New York, one of the worst airports in the US. When I was in the TSA line, I was surrounded by two families, a mom and her son behind me, and two parents with two boys in front of me. The mom in front of me was tired, like she was sitting on a big carry-on bag while her husband wheeled her around tired. Dad was so focused on mom not falling off the suitcase that the boys were just darting about and trying to play with the boy behind me as well. It's 6:30 a.m. I'm on 2 hours of sleep, so the world is just too much for me. But I also worked at a special needs preschool for 2 years prior to becoming a therapist, so I do know how to wrangle kids on minimal sleep. Now I go into crowd control mode, asking the boys about their interests, but reminding them that we do have to be quiet to talk about them. I find out the brothers are Eric, 9, and Daniel, 6, and they are really excited about going on a plane. The boys have started to have a quiet conversation about Minecraft. The mom behind me thanks me, and we actually have a nice chat about me previously working in the special needs school and how fun it was. About an hour and a half later, I'm boarding the plane and see the tired mom like 5 rows back from where I was seated. She's at a window seat and she's completely passed out. I sit, and about 5 minutes later, I see the dad and two boys coming on the plane. The first kid, Daniel, sits down next to me, and the dad pauses for a moment, just staring at me. After a minute, I'm just like, is there anything wrong? And I kid you not, this man proceeds to take the boarding pass out of his second kid's hand, swap it with his, and tells his son to sit in the aisle seat. He then bolts to the row his wife is in. Once the disbelief wears off, the boys start asking me questions about the plane and snacks and the TV mounted in front of them, and I just realized that the dad had left me to babysit his two boys. Now at this point, I am so exhausted that I don't even fight it. I show the older one how to turn the TV on and tell him, I'm really sleepy, just like your mom, so I'm gonna take a nap. The kids both tell me to have a nice nap, and I pass out. I wake up 2 hours later, to my tray down with a mini water bottle and a bag of cookies on it. Apparently my new friends thought that I would want a snack when I woke up. They were great kids. 30 minutes before we land, there's a commotion behind us and what sounds like running. All of a sudden, mom is very much awake and looking for both kids to make sure they're alright. Both of them mentioned that they've been watching Moana, so they are perfectly fine. Mom then shoots her husband the face of displeasure. When we get off the plane, mom follows me to the bathroom to apologize. Apparently she took some medication to help ease her anxiety with flying, but that just knocked her out. The husband was supposed to sit with the younger boy while the older son sat with her. She freaked out when she woke up and saw her husband in front of her, and thought that her husband forgot her children back at JFK Airport, hence her panic. Apparently her husband thought that it was a good idea to leave them with me, because he had heard me talking about working at a school, and figured that they would be fine with me. Now, she did apologize, and when we got out of the bathroom, she made sure her husband apologized as well, for abandoning their kids with a stranger. The whole walkout to the pickup area, she was reminding her children about stranger danger and how they need to be careful in big places like this. Daniel gave me a paper heart that he folded out of a New York City brochure, so now I have a new best friend. You know what, I'm not surprised that a dad would do this at all. I mean, I personally wouldn't because I don't like to leave my kids with strangers, but hey, you're on a metal tube flying through the air and there's only one place out. It's kinda safe. But with that said, that's super entitled to just leave your kids to be watched while you and your wife get some shut-eye in a quiet row without kids. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, we survived another episode. If you guys enjoyed the stories today, do hit that subscribe button. And if you missed the last episode of our /entitled people, a Karen demands OP's guard dog to be put down so her son can safely trespass and steal from them. Guys, it's so entitled. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.